Hello, everyone. It's my absolute pleasure to welcome you all on behalf of Team Avatar and my Avatar to the Day 8 of Diversity Mahotsav 2022. My name is Lakshmi Jayaraman, and I'll be your host for this evening. As we start here are a few hygiene checks for a seamless virtual experience. Please close all other applications on your computer and log out from your organization's VPN to conserve internet bandwidth. We would like to thank our partners, featured partners, Kellogg Brown and Root Engineering and Constructions India Private Limited, and Saint Gobain India Private Limited. Our social media hashtags are Diversity Mahotsav, hashtag celebrating diversity. Do post your experience at Diversity Mahotsav on your social media handles with the hashtag. I would also like to inform you that all the Diversity Mahotsav episodes are being live streamed on YouTube channel. Scan the QR code seen on your mobiles or laptops or computers to watch the Diversity Mahotsav live on YouTube. Alternatively, you can go to the link that is seen in the same slide. Avatar, set up in 2000, is India's first diversity advocate and workshop and inclusion expert. Renowned for its extensive work in the space of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and more specifically, women's workforce participation, it is the country's largest provider of second career opportunities for women and is also the earliest to begin working on diversity audits and measurement. Led by the visionary Dr. Soundarya Rajesh, Avatar has ventured into areas of gender inclusion and career creation, which are first to India, creating platforms for second career women to meet potential employers, developing a comprehensive set of career enablers which companies can implement in their workspaces, spearheading original research that has provided cutting edge insights to organizations, creating India's first diversity hiring portal, myavatar.com, for women, LGBTQ, PWD, veterans, and silver generation, reskilling, upskilling, and counseling of women to pursue sustainable career paths, and building career intentionality amongst the underprivileged girl children. Starting the journey to provide India's first career service as Avatar Ivan, myavatar.com, rechrisen to encompass all the strands of diversity, has penetrated the realms of career development and equal inclusions in India. The portal has been recognized as Silicon India's most promising job portal for the year 2022, is built on the mission to guide and enable people belonging to underrepresented groups with trainings and jobs. Let's hear from the founder president of Avatar on what's myavatar.com.
I am delighted to share that My Avatar is India's first and only portal to celebrate diversity. This means that we are a portal that addresses ourselves to different diversity talent pools, different underrepresented groups of talent like women, second career women, members of the LGBTQ community, persons with disability, veterans, and the silver generation. And what do we do at myavatar.com? First of all, we provide jobs from a whole host of organizations that are committed to diversity, equity, and inclusion. We also create experiences and opportunities for people to come in touch with each other to form communities. And finally, we also offer skilling programs to ensure that every individual who registers to myavatar.com has the opportunity to reach the fullest of their potential.
Diversity Mahotsav, the month-long celebration by myavatar.com, Avatar's #1 diversity hiring portal, is one of its kind initiative. It aims to look for multi-pronged strategies to explore the world of opportunities out there for diverse groups. Diverse in its approach with experiential sessions, success stories, and skill-building workshops, it recognizes that one size doesn't fit all and that there is a need for different levels of intervention. I once again welcome you all on behalf of Team Avatar, India's premier diversity, equity, and inclusion solution firm, and myavatar.com, India's only diversity hiring portal, to the Diversity Mahotsav. Let's celebrate ourselves. Empirical studies have shown that an increasing number of higher education institutions around the globe want to be diverse, inclusive, and equitable. When seen through the global lens, diversity is an important aspect in 59% of US universities. India is home to a fifth of the world's youth population, and this creates a demographic dividend that will play a critical role in achieving the nation's ambitious target to become a US $5 trillion economy. The young minds need to be imparted quality educations to drive a culture of innovation, entrepreneurship, diversity, equity, and inclusivity. The new Education Policy 2020 NEP envisions a complete overhaul and re energizing of the higher education system to overcome challenges and thereby deliver high quality higher education with equity and inclusion. The role, therefore, of the educational institution and the gurus in creating an equitable learning environment is of prime importance. It's our pleasure to invite each one of you to this panel discussion on creating inclusive campuses in India and the role towards making it more equitable and accessible. I am now happy to invite the panelists for this session. Our first panelist is Dr. Himanshi Tiwari, is faculty of OB, HRM, Diversity and Inclusion at BIM Tech, Greater Noida. She also heads Rainbow Center for Women Career Counseling and guidance at the European Union. She's a keen promoter of SDG 5 with specific reference to diversity, equity, and inclusion in education and work life. Her PhD on the topic Career Anchors in Decision Making by Non-Working Educated Urban Women to Join Workforce, a study of National Capital Region, received wide accolades and was further instrumental in opening 3 centers for women career counseling and guidance in 3 leading universities, HEIs of India. She's been a visiting faculty with University of Lucknow for teaching courses in MHRM and IR, Department of Social Work. It's my pleasure inviting you to this panel, Dr. Himanshi. Our next panelist is Dr. Sajid Pradhan, Associate Professor in the area of Organizational Behavior and Human Resource Management at IIM Trichy. Dr. Sajid has more than 17 years of experience in teaching, training, and consulting. He's a well-known behavioral trainer, having rich experience of more than 4,000 training hours in various organizations like IOCL, L&T, TAFE, Railtel, and many more. He has trained government officers and corporate executives from more than 50 countries. Welcome, Dr. Sajid, to this panel. Our third panelist is Dr. Shiji Linden, who is a faculty in OB and HRM area at KJ Somaya Institute of Management, Mumbai. She is certified in mixed methods research from St. Gallen University, Switzerland. Shiji is the chairperson of Center for Diversity, Management and Inclusion at KJ Somaya Institute of Management. CDMI was started in 2015 with the objective of creating sensitization through training and workshops to the issues of acknowledging, valuing, and managing diversity through inclusive strategies and mindset. CDMI also carries out applied research in the area of diversity management and inclusion. Welcome, Dr. Shiji, as well. I am now going to introduce you to the moderator of today's session, Professor A.S. Girish, who is an associate professor at Dean External Programs and Placement at XIME Kochi. He is a human resource management professional into the 43rd year of career, 4 decades plus experience covering all domains of human resources management, such as industrial relations, corporate HR function, and human resource functions in greenfield projects. He left the industry as advisor and head HR of Apollo Tyres Limited, India. He is an MSW, PMIR, and LW from Loyola College of Social Sciences, Thiruvananthapuram, University of Kerala. Additionally, qualified in law LLB from the University of Kerala. He is very active in professional bodies and rose to the level of national vice president between the year 2014 and 16 in the National Institute of Personnel Management, NIPM. He has held the key positions such as chairman, ISTD Kochi chapter, convener, CII HR panel, Kerala, and facilitator CII HRD Forum, Chennai. Mr. Girish will be the moderator for today's session. Over to you, Mr. Girish. You're on mute, sir. You're on mute.
Thank you, Lakshmi, for that wonderful introduction about the theme about Avatar. I'm really impressed and I'm very happy that we have a diverse panelist, say from Noida, from Mumbai, from Trichy. I think Avatar is so lucky that you got a galaxy of panelists from across the country. And additional compliments to Avatar for bringing the dictum which has been reverberating in our ears to the campus. Off and on things are happening, but it is first time I am also participating in such a program. Very innovative, and let me wish the mission of Avatar to be accomplished across all spectrums of life. Okay, with this brief introduction, I would religiously get on to my duty. You see, Avatar in its own style have conducted ample research into the topic. So we have coined some questions, and we will present this before the eminent panelists. And we have designed it in such a way that first question, all the panelists gets an opportunity to comment upon, and then we will bifurcate. This is just to take care of time and full participation from all. Okay, so I will read out the question and then call upon panelists to comment on the intrinsic details of this proposition. It's a very positive research study. As per All India Survey on Higher Education 2019-20, the gross enrollment ratio of female students stands at 27.3, more than that of male students, which is 26.9. The positive figures indicate an increase in gender diversity in higher education, which is a welcome news. Now we want to know, this is the cover story. Now we want to know, what are your views with respect to other types of diversity in the campuses? How do you ensure that learning opportunities for all segments of students imparted equally? Okay, so we expect you to comment on the other types of diversity you are accommodating or you are experiencing very positively, and how do you ensure that learning opportunities for all segments of students imparted equally? Okay, so what we will do is we will divide say 6 to 7 minutes for each panelist. Okay, and since you are all professors, I think you will be self-disciplined. So please confine to the time. Okay, so we will start with Madam Dr. Himanshi, Madam of Vimtech Noida. Then we will move on to the next panelist. Okay, we have an agreement on this?
Okay.
Okay, thank you, please.
Thank you, Professor Girish, for being one of the, first of all, being the moderator for the session. And I would also like to thank Avatar for this wonderful initiative. Coming to the question that Professor Girish has started the discussion with, the statistics actually put it quite right that we have gone quite along when it talks about increasing the gross enrollment ratio of females in the campuses, and it took a long journey. It doesn't happen in in 1 or 2 years. It took a long journey. There were many ways to do it, and we could achieve it because of those initiatives taken at the right time, and those initiatives being implemented with word and spirit in the right time, at the right time by different campuses. So there is a precedence which tells that if we take the right steps at the right time with full involvement, the results could be as desired. So this happened in gender's case, but this is the right time, and actually we don't have any time to waste and do it in a step-by-step manner. We have to include the various other pillars of diversity together right now. Like we need to talk about LGBTQ students in the campus. We need to talk about people with disability in the campus. And it's not about just bringing them to the campus, just inviting them to the party and then not asking them to dance, or not involving them, or not giving them the right environment to be comfortable in the campus is even increasing their troubles even more. So there are many studies which say that there are campuses where people with LGBTQ community are there, but there is no support system for them. So currently the statistic says that there are only 8 campuses in India where we have LGBTQ support circles. And out of those 8 campuses, 6 are IITs. Remaining, there is a school in New Delhi, which is Tagore International School, and then other campuses, and one is BITS Pilani. So I think B schools have a long way to do in this, and B schools should take care of the environment and the infrastructure that we provide to people with different diverse fields of life. Suppose we give admission to a person from people with disability category, and our classrooms, our washrooms, our hostels, our mess, nothing is friendly to bring them to the campus, and we are asking them to attend offline classes. It's actually making their life even more difficult and making them feel even more excluded. So the first thing is to not only give some kind of quotas in private B schools also to bring them in the campus, but also take care of the infrastructure and building structure and the architecture of the campuses in such a way that buildings are PWD friendly. And we have such ministries and departments in our country which are taking audits of these buildings. Are they PWD friendly or not? So B schools and higher education institutes should go ahead and start such audits, whether their buildings are PWD friendly or not, whether they have LGBTQ support circles in the campus or not. And study says that there are only 8 such places where these circles are. And there are some diversity and inclusion centers like we have in KG Sumaya, and like we have there is a diversity center in IIM also, Ahmedabad, and we also have a rainbow center for women, but we have to diversify it for diversity and inclusion and all aspects of diversity. So to begin with is that what I want to conclude with my viewpoints is this is not something that we should wait for them to approach us. They will not be, they are already knocking enough doors in their lives, and there are already enough challenges in their lives. So we should go ahead, open up, and find out what they want, and should ask them the kind of support that they expect from us, rather than just quoting the numbers that this much number of PWD students we have, because our constitution already gives a quota system. We already have a quota for people with disability, and there is a awareness drive in LGBTQ section as well. But I would again repeat that just asking them to come to the party is not enough. We need to be quite proactive in creating such environment which enables them to participate in the party as well and give their best in the campuses, rather than just inviting and quoting our numbers and proving that we are very diverse culture and very diverse B schools. So we need to shift from posters to action. This is what I want to conclude my thoughts with. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Thank you for that very pragmatic, much above sloganeering. This need to be taken to the ground. Thank you very much for that. Now I move on to Dr. Sajid Pradhan. Sir, in your dimensions, you can also include vernacular inclusiveness required in campuses. She has touched LGBTQ and disabilities already touched. You can cover that also. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Professor Girish, and thank you, Avatar, for having me. Yes, I strongly agree with what my co-panelist has nicely pointed out. I will speak from the statistics which is available with me, that is from Tiruchirappalli's numbers, and it's very interesting to see that yes, we have almost like 54% of female participants and 46% of male participants, which is very interesting. But my quick thoughts would highlight a couple of subtle, I would say subtle, intangible and invisible disabilities which are not being recorded, not being talked about. The first important aspect is, and that is something from my previous experience in one of my leadership training program. this without naming the organization, I was conducting a training program which involved some activities involving color. And all the 24 participants, my assumption was, everyone okay with the colors. Okay, so when I went ahead with this activity, one person was totally disturbed and was not comfortable participating in that activity. Later, I could come to know that this 6 foot tall, very muscular, very physically fit person had color, blindness, and there was a very specific color which is difficult to kind of identify and differentiate. Uh, that was a complete kind of shock. So henceforth, I introduced one particular, you know, important aspect to my training programs, that before I start, I will kind of seek, ask people any kind of special learning requirements which they have. So that is something which, in fact, I introduced, and I've been kind of following it religiously. So that is one thing. Even educated people like me, those who act on the basis of pre-notions and those previous mental blocks that everything is okay. That is one thing. The second thing, we'll quickly come to the student's perspective. I'm fortunate enough to kind of teach some of the leading B schools, and one of the very dominant kind of thought process which you will find prevalent, and which is kind of common across B schools, is engineering and non-engineering background. So the quick thought process of the faculty members and my colleagues, again, putting ourselves in a very awkward position. So our first assumption is that since coming from the STEM background, the person will either go for operations or systems or finance. So we kind of prejudge the people without a kind of understanding what exactly is their interest, what exactly is their liking. So that is amazing learning, and at IIM Trichy we are kind of taking care of it. I'm fortunate enough to kind of offer this DEI course over here. So these are life lessons which I have learned, and I have also kind of shared with my colleagues and co-faculty members. One thing which we have decided, which we will consciously do at IIM Tiruchirappalli, is that we will identify cases which is not limited to a specific type of protagonist. Most of the cases, Ivy League, IIM Ahmedabad, Harvard cases, they have a particular type of protagonist. So we decided that why can't the protagonist be a little different? So we encourage faculty members to pick unorthodox protagonists, like for example, intentionally picked somebody whose sexual orientation is not conventional. We identified, okay, why to kind of studies somebody who's, let's say, MBA from a top B school? Why can't somebody who's even under matriculate? So we try to create a protagonist which is more inclusive than what's being done in the past. That is the third thing. And quickly talking about the vernacular, yes, being a government organization, we do have social responsibility, and we being an inclusive kind of educational institution, we welcome all kinds of students. Now that puts a really kind of challenging responsibility on people, those who come from vernacular, not from English medium. Since 99+% of discussion, conversation, everything happens in that language. So specifically for people, those who are from vernacular, we do have support sessions, we do have buddy programs, we do have some allyship thing, which has been kind of working well. But talking only from IIM Tiruchirappalli perspective, my my thought process is, can these initiatives be replicated? Can we, can we kind of mimic all these things in other places and see some wonderful results coming out? That is, I believe, a long way to go, but we believe that, yes, things are changing, and with the avatars initiative like this, definitely I believe we will be able to achieve the milestone we achieved in terms of gender parity or equality. Over to you, Professor
Thank
Girish.
you, Dr. Sajid. Actually, it was you presented it in a storytelling style. Actually, I could see the colorblindness being faced by that candidate. Anyway, thank you very much, being very adding that flavor from the ground. So thank you very much. Now we move on to Dr. Shriji Linton. I presume that you are the youngest, so we expect the most vibrant output from you. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Girish. So a lot has been said by Professor Himanshi and Professor Sajid, so I'll make it very quick, also in the interest of time. So as said, gender is something, especially when you're looking at it only in the context of male and female, yeah, there is a lot that has been done. And at least in B school level, we are not finding it as a challenge. We're getting enough and more women candidates, sometimes more than boys. Yeah, but then, one is disability. Second is sexual orientation that we spoke about. Third, being in India, talking about all the kind of diversity that we have, whether we talk about region, religion, yeah, the zone that they come from, the language that they speak, yeah, sometimes not being able to speak. We spoke about English, the difficulty with English, but sometimes coming to Mumbai, and if you do not speak Hindi, there could be a problem. So a lot of times in my class, I keep telling them, because there's this tendency for people to switch on and start talking in Hindi, assuming that everybody in the country understands. Yeah, so that is another. Also, if we were to look at gender, and now we are looking at gender as a spectrum and not just as male and female. And I think B School has to go a long way to look at it as a spectrum, and being okay with people coming from across the spectrum. And how to make it inclusive, I think gender or any kind of sensitization program, I think, is the beginning. And I personally feel no matter how much we do, it is not sufficient. We just need to, this is a conversation, it is an ongoing conversation. Just talking about it during a webinar or a training program is not sufficient. So on a daily basis, on a regular basis, how can I sensitize myself? So unlearning, learning has to be the norm, beginning with the faculty and the staff, and of course the students. And also, as one of the panelists mentioned, that whenever it is something which is a visible diversity, it is a little more easier. But how can we make, I think for me, the bigger question is, how can we make our educational institutions safe enough where people who are from invisible, whether it is learning disability or it is sexual orientation, which is not visible. So how do we create a safe environment for people to be who they are and to come as who they are to the institution and be proud about who they are? Yeah, that's it from my end.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Siji. So net to net, I think the energy created in the room is very passionate. Like the founder of Avatar, Saundarya Madam always says, the passion is the factor which will decide. And luckily for Avatar, I think they have identified people with passion. I don't know whether it is accidental or by design. Anyway, thank you very much for the panelists. We have covered the macro and micro issues in general. Now I am going to throw questions specifically to the panelists. So now we will start with the youngest. Okay. The question is, would you quote any specific instance where reasonable accommodations were made in the learning methodology or the evaluation process to support a student, certain sets of students? Whether a special accommodative measure was taken in your experience? Please, madam.
Yeah, thanks for the question. So a very recent case. So during COVID 2020 and 2021, the batch which came in, the initial for the 2020, the 2 years, at least in my institute, went online. The course was delivered online. 2021, it happened that the students, the first year, they did it in an online format. So we have one student, a very brilliant girl, who has some challenges, visual challenges. She cannot see clearly, and over a period, it's a rare genetic disorder through which you lose your eyesight completely over a period of time. So for first year, it was pretty easy for her because it was comparatively easier because she had to take Zoom classes, the comfort of home, everything was there. But in 2022, when we started the physical classroom, it became a little difficult for her because she had to travel in Mumbai, and her mother had to, because she cannot manage on her own, her mother had to accompany her to the institute, be around for 6-7 hours, be there with her to take her to the washroom or whatever be the requirement. So then the request that we had and what we figured ourselves also was the two things. One, when she comes to the institute, her classroom was at the top floor, on the 4th floor of the building. So the first thing that we did was we shifted the classroom for the entire batch. We shifted it to the ground floor to make it more convenient for her. Second, we realized that daily commuting in Mumbai would be a difficulty. So we made a special case for her. In that case, what we did is all the sessions are online as well as offline. So we have a Zoom link created and she can attend the sessions from the comfort of her home. For the examination, she comes to the institution. And because she is not somebody who is born blind or have been, the journey of a visual impairment right from the beginning. So like a lot of time, blind students or people with visual disability would want a student to help them, a writer who would write the exam and they narrate the answers and the writer would write. In her case, she prefers to do it by herself. And she requested that instead of a written examination, she would want to type it out. So we have made the arrangement. And also she is one of the most vibrant student in the class. So all the team assignments, she likes to work in the team and the class has been very, very accommodative. So how she does is basically she contributes what is the most convenient thing. Like for example, if a PowerPoint presentation has to be made, she says she finds it difficult to make that, but she can always contribute the content part of it. So she quickly types it in a Word document. So class has been very, very accommodative. My experience has been that whenever it is a physical disability, it is relatively easier to address. But when it comes to a learning disability, which is invisible, there comes a bigger challenge. So we have examples like that also where I have had students coming to me telling me about their invisible disability, but not very sure whether they want to declare it. One, the fear is how will it address, how will it affect their placement? Now, will the companies be okay to take if they declare that they have a learning disability or something like that? Also, when it is an invisible disability, what happens is, I think a lot more sensitization we need to do because the fellow participants, fellow classmates would not know. And it would be more like a difficulty in working with that person, not realizing it is coming from a different way of learning and delivering. So in fact, I would very quickly want to quote about one of the research that we did in the campus. So we were looking at students with disability and their journey, what has been their journey, what were the challenges. And it was a very, very insightful research that we could do. So we spoke to students who had physical or any visible disability, and they were talking about their experience. Like some students who had visual disability, blind students, they were talking about how a lot of times when invigilators come to the room, they do not know about the extra hour that is given. And every time they have to explain that there is an extra hour and the invigilator sometimes argue sometimes, and that can put you off. Similarly, when assignment is given, a lot of times we are not very mindful that the time frame that is given to a student who is regular and a student who has to depend on somebody else to write there would be long. So slowly and steadily we are
trying to. Thank you, Shiji. Can we move on?
Sure.
At times I have to show my presence now.
Sure.
Okay, now what we have done is we have categorized the sensitive questions to the seniors. Okay, Himanshi Madam, now I am throwing a question to you. How do you support an inclusive culture in the campus? That part is very easy. Second is this can cover accommodation made in attendance, dress code, hostel timing, participation in inter and intra-college programs, non-veg, veg food, consciously, symbolically planned celebrations. If you can touch upon this quickly, that will be an add to the flavor of the discussion.
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you. See, we have been noticing this that we are a Birla legacy B school, so the non-veg is not served here, and it is still not served here. But what we are understanding is that we have some quota to make our campus a bit more diverse. So we have lot good number of students from South India, and some of the students are also from Northeast, not very much, but yes, we have their presence. So what we are noticing is we are trying to make the campus culturally as diverse as possible, and so we celebrate Onam at such a large scale as we celebrate Janmashtami, which is very common and I mean universally acceptable, but more in North India. And so what we this year we have realized that there was a whole bunch of students from Maharashtra actually lobbying to us, because celebrating Ganeshotsav was not in our list of festivals, and they all lobbied and they said no, we have to do it. And we supported them and we said it's not in, we will give you extra budget, you go and do it. And the whole campus actually participated, so it was not like those 20-25 students from Maharashtra doing it. So if we cannot actually celebrate every festival giving it a holiday, but we can give this message to the students that every festival is important. Suppose we cannot serve the typical kind of food that they want, so what we can do is we understand that you like this thing, so we are becoming a little lenient when they can order food from outside. We know that there are rules, but we sometimes close our eyes. And the hostel timing is still something that we are working upon, because it's an NCR campus and our girls need extra care here. So yeah, I mean, small little messages go a long way. This is what we are noticing, and students feel it. So those Marathi students still gave a big smile when they see me, and they accepted that we have understood that it's an important thing for them, and we let them celebrate it the way they wanted it. So I think small little things can go and help us making it more diverse. And when we go about dress code also, in terms of dress code also, we need to train the managerial staff and people, security people and other people, that sometimes they cannot accept the new generation with their own standards. We have to give everything cannot be written in the student code of conduct. So we need to understand the Gen Y, Gen Z with their standards, and it doesn't be judgmental all the time or giving our own verdicts all the time about their characters or about their viewpoints. We should be open to accept them and give them their benefits of doubts at times. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, madam. Thank you. Actually, I sit in Zaim. We have a system called Monday they should wear sari. As an HR professor, at times I ask, what is your biggest grievance? Immediately everybody will rise and say sari. Okay, so that is the struggle you have, but we have a purpose. See, the behind the dress code, without beard, with clean shaven and all, it sends a message of their small transformation or big transformation. Sir, toughest to you, this is how accessible and inclusive is the current education landscape for future corporate citizens. Again, this is the lighter part. The tougher part is what can be done more to ensure that faculty and staff members gets global and diverse exposure. Okay, if you want 1.5 minutes, yes, you can take some. Because of the gravity of the question.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. I will try my best to justify whatever I've seen, whatever I have witnessed. So I will quickly kind of come to the first question regarding the accessibility and the inclusive learning environment in various colleges and university or educational institutions. I believe that. I will speak from my personal experience. I've been to so many places, so I have witnessed that most of the places they have acted from the compliance spirit. Help them, gain some brownie points for accreditation or for ranking. So there are two types of institutions. One, those who are motivated based on the compliance part, and the second, those who go beyond the compliance. Now, the first category talks about people, those who kind of do it because of the regulatory bodies, because of, you know, the other kind of pressure they feel, and for that they have washrooms, they have lifts, they have separate kind of utility rooms and other things for people having you know, mobility challenges or vision challenges. Okay, now that is the first part. The second part, which is much more important, is kind of helping all the stakeholders in the educational institution to internalize it. So what we have thought of at IIM Tiruchirappalli, we have thought of something called a 3I intervention. Okay, we call it identify, internalize, and study the impact. So identify the areas which can be considered to be a major bottleneck. So from the compliance part and from you know, the regulatory bodies requirement aspect. The second is internalize. We want all the stakeholders involved in this entire value chain, learning value chain process, to internalize it, to feel that particular thing. So we have activities, we kind of, you know, have lectures, we have seminars where we kind of try to educate. But as Professor Lind has nicely pointed out, it all starts with I. So it has to be internalized, it has to be kind of imbibed by that individual to understand the seriousness of it. And the third part is, how do we kind of create metrics and KPIs to see the change? That is where we are kind of working on. We haven't created those KPIs or metrics where we can see that there's been a tangible impact, you know, a thing which has gone from bad to good. So we are kind of in a process of setting the KPIs and studying them, analyzing the report, and kind of, you know, create case studies which can be taken to the next level. Okay, coming to the second part, which is somewhat related to what I've talked about so far. It's very, very difficult to kind of tell people. One aspect which I told you, it's very, very difficult to convince professors to change their cases, right? And ask them categorically, marketing professor, or let's say a finance person, to pick a case which not just resonate with their domain, but also kind of align with this diversity, equity, and inclusion theme. So it's very, very difficult to convince, but I'm glad that most of us, we have agreed, we have kind of agreed to the point that there has to be something which has to be done in a tangible way, which sends message not just to the current students, but also prospective people. It's more about prospective people, those who learn from the social media and other forums about the facilities, about the amenities, about the learning environment, the peer support group, and other things. So we are trying to not just kind of create a buzz, but also want to see things happening, okay, in a real sense, changing us to become a better version of what we are. So that's from my end. As a professor, as a faculty, I can say that we've been kind of trying hard to, you know, change ourselves to understand the various aspects of diversity and the challenges that comes with it. So
actually, thank you very much for bringing that point. Actually, I always used to think it is a paradox that a good bowler is not a good batsman. Okay, so professors, they teach change, but they are difficult to change. Okay, anyway, that is the reality, but you see that it has got its own reasons, but the journey never ends with that. Continuous effort and commitment from the senior team, and programs like this definitely will spread the message, and that is the only way out. So thank you very much. I am extremely happy that a broad spectrum of dimensions have been brought to this in this 45 minutes. Because of varied experience, and more than that, a deep commitment I could see in the words and body language of my fellow panelists. So I thank Avadar that this type of panelists only they should invite me. Okay. Now there is a last part is as part of diversity Mahotsav, there is a rapid fire round. Okay, round. You will be given 1 to 1.5 minutes. Top three characteristics of an inclusive education institution. Okay, quick. So I will start with Himanshi Madam. Top three characteristics of an inclusive educational institution.
Okay, sir. So first I would say start using gender fair language. And when I'm saying gender fair language, it's not gender neutral language. It's gender fair language in your official and unofficial documents and in the conversations in the classes and campuses. Number two, stop being judgmental or stop being deciding, giving certificates to people whom you don't understand. So let's be open and just try to understand their viewpoints. And third is changing with the need is the need of the hour. So maybe our legacy doesn't allow few things, but the new environment, the new setup, the new normal has changed. So let's be normal for the sake of being normal rather than being very specific because a particular legacy is, behind us. So these three things I would say.
Very, very valid 3 points, madam. Very appreciate. There is lessons in each point. Thank you so much. Sir, over to you.
I consider the first important aspect or characteristic would be belongingness, a sense of belongingness. Now, it kind of sends a very strong message that you are appreciated, you are welcome, you are invited, you are one of us. That gives a lot of confidence to these young kids, those who are like between 20, 24, 25, okay, and staying away from home. The second is walk the talk. A great learning institution, starting from the top, should walk the talk. Okay, so it shouldn't be simply from compliance perspective. It should be something which becomes the very DNA of the institution, where all the stakeholders, those who are involved, okay, having the shared vision, they feel the same way, and they have the same kind of value system. And the third, the most important part is create a safe learning environment where, irrespective of whatever slice of diversity that we have talked about or we haven't talked about, okay, they feel safe and they feel included. There is one very interesting and important thing which I'm currently working on is the area of microaggression. This is very interesting because small, tiny comment slur can really, derail the learning process for an individual. So keeping that in mind, creating a very inclusive and safe learning environment is a must.
Very, very well said, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much. And now we move on to CC Madam, please.
Yeah, sure. So the three things from my end, I think the first important thing is to create an environment which is psychologically safe for people to be who they are, putting up any pretense to fit in. So creating that safe environment. The second, I feel, is to build a culture which is where learning and unlearning is invited, which is appreciated, and learning and unlearning beginning from the top. So this has to be supported from the top and not starting with students. So I strongly feel that. And third is to have an infrastructure which is not restrictive, but which is of support to people across different spectrum. So these are the three from my end.
Okay, very good. I think 9 different points have emerged, you see, without any planning. That is the beauty of this discussion. So thank you very much. Thank you for, actually I teach, at times I am asked to teach business ethics. And one topic is diversity. So next session, I have enough material to teach. So thank you so much for your real participation. And I'm very glad that I have been able to connect with you. Now the last 10 minutes is dedicated for question and answer. So I would hand over back to Lakshmi Madam. Okay, please take over and moderate the question session.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, panelists, all the panelists. It was lovely listening into you all. Music to ears. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of takeaway. So on that note, may I request the participants to come up with your questions? I see I have one question already on the chat. Janani Sampath, she is asking, India is a unique country with vibrant internal diversity, with different languages, regions, and religions. How is this an advantage or a disadvantage while chalking out policies? Any of you can take this up to answer? Yeah. Go ahead. Yes, please, Dr. Himanshi, please.
So I think, Janani, this is the very basic of actually chalking out policies. I mean, any policy which is not universally applicable is not a policy per se. So something which is all inclusive, which is not supportive to a particular group of people or a culture or language or region or religion, and is regressive to others, is not some which qualify to be a policy per se. So it is sometimes difficult to include everyone while making policies, but this is the beauty of a diverse culture like ours, that we are inbuilt. It's in our DNA as Indians. Actually, we can say from our viewpoint, it's in our DNA to take everybody's viewpoint and not force just one way of reaching to the almighty, we say. So for the ultimate goal, if we say that there could be various ways, but the truth is one, so there could be various ways to support people, and policy is one of the supporting tool to reach there. My say. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Himanshi. I think very well answered. I hope, Janni, you are happy with the answer that has come in from Dr. Himanshi. I also have another question here. This is to all of you, and again, a rapid fire. What they want to understand, one of the audience wants to understand is, what are the 3 common barriers to diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives that each of you have faced at your campuses?
Yeah. So shall I go ahead?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. So the first one I feel are the biases, the inherent biases that we have. So sometimes it makes conversation very, very difficult at the institution level itself. Second is the resistance and resistance to change from the organizational perspective. I have not faced so much barrier from the student front, but it is more to do with other people right? So resistance, if it is spoken, then it is easier, but unwillingness to have a conversation, I think that becomes a bigger one. And of course, infrastructure. So a lot of things we think we have done it, but we realize not yet. So yeah.
Great. Yes.
Your bosses are listening now. No problem.
Yes, Professor Sajid.
Yes. I believe the biggest barrier is apathy, indifference. So I would like to quote the movie Accountant. Diversity is a challenge for others, but the person who has a member in his or her family understands it better. So that was a very, very strong kind of statement. So unless and until people strongly relate to it, it will simply be another box to tick, another thing which is a hygiene factor for the accreditation and the ranking. So unless and until people are passionate about it, people strongly kind of align their values with this particular theme, things won't change. So apathy, indifference, aloofness is something which I consider major barrier.
Lovely, Dr. Sajid. Very beautifully answered. As Dr. Himanshi has been telling, inviting them to the dance party is good enough, but then making them participate, I think it's coming from the beautifully answered. Dr. Himanshi, your views on this?
Yeah, I think if we take both the points, I would say that sometimes there are such deeply rooted unconscious bias. People don't want to hurt the other party, but they hurt them unknowingly. So when I shifted from Lucknow to this place, Lucknow is a place where language and culture, everybody knows that there is a saying about Lucknow. And here, I mean, those words were taken as an insult. I mean, if we say someone bhaiya in Lucknow, or the auto rickshaw people tell us bitiya, so it's a normal thing in Lucknow, in UP, actually, that part of UP. But here, I mean, I would say language is something which I would say I'm currently working upon, and I would say that creates, because what you think is what you speak. So when you think with a mental block, that comes through your language. So we need to go a long way and give lots of trainings and awareness sessions in the campus for being a very, very gender neutral and gender fair language. That can go a long way.
Lovely, lovely, Dr. Himanshi. I have time for, I guess, one more question. So here is Sita who's asking, um, upbringing plays a major role in diversity perceptions. Students in the campus are there for a short time. It's a challenge to make them imbibe new diversity learning. How can this be handled successfully?
I think personally that, yeah, the students are there for a very short time, but the objective is if we can start the conversation. So the idea is not to say this is the way, but it is like, can we look at it differently? And whenever there is an invitation like that, I'm sure many are willing to look at it. So that's something that we can do.
Lovely, lovely, Dr. Shiji. I have few more questions as I see, so I want maximum, questions to be covered. So thank you for that short answer. So I have one more question that says, in order to truly embrace diversity and inclusion, instructors need to push themselves and their students outside their comfort zones, which might lead to hot moments in classrooms. What would you advise to other institutions starting on their DI journey for those cooling down the tension?
So if I start very quickly, I would say because Professor Girish has pointed it out also that there are people talking about DEI, those who are passionate about DEI. So when we are passionate about something, sometimes we listen from our peers. See, you are acting as an activist. So activism doesn't give results, but activism actually gives results. And it's only that which gives results, because passively you keep talking about things, but nothing happens. It just becomes in accreditation and ranking wise, we prove things in posters, but it should come in the DNA. And when it should come in the DNA, professor should actually come into that avatar of activists on this ground.
Lovely, lovely, lovely. Once again, Dr. Himanshi, one last question that I have here as we speak is, how do you ensure that diversity is taken care in activities in the institution, let's say project work or assignments, as diversity is the key component for innovation? Many a time students form groups with other students who are similar to them. So how do you address that? Yes, Professor Sajid.
Okay, one of the very interesting observation is the relative grading that we have in B schools that clearly kind of tilt this scoring pattern, the grading pattern in favor of the best team. So we use the best team, okay, the most competent, the most skilled. We've been kind of telling the students, can you for example, we will have some extra marks and you have to kind of incentivize them to tell, if say, for example, if we give you additional marks, will you have a different kind of composition? Will you be little tolerant and little kind of accommodative? Okay, that's very interesting because the entire DNA of B school is zero-sum game. Okay, a maximization of profit, okay, creating wealth for the shareholders. That is what we've been teaching them for 24 months or 18 months, right? So all of a sudden, when you kind of ask them to be inclusive, ask them to be empathetic, ask them to kind of allow people to lean on them, it's very, very difficult. So they say that, okay, this is somewhat, paradoxical. So we facilitate them, we incentivize them, we ask them, is it possible? Is it, without coercing, we kind of introduce it in a subtle way where the other person also understands, right? Because the role which he or she will be taking up after a couple of months or after a couple of years will be totally different than something which is purely kind of judged from the grade or the percentage perspective. So sending that message in a subtle way is a Herculean task. It's easy to kind of say this in a webinar, but it's very, very difficult to kind of convince them. So that's my take.
I have a point. What we do in our college is, even in room allotment, double room, we don't put the same state people. At least let them get into an interactive mode with the other places.
Lovely.
And my feeling is this subject should be included as part of curriculum. So at least for the sake of mugging up, people will listen to that. I think that is another answer. So I take 1 second. Business ethics was not a celebrated topic. So if you take 10 years, 15 years, our Lehman Brothers and that type of intelligent Harvard birds only resulted in this. So in our journey, I think that is one possibility, I feel. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Very beautifully answered. Thank you, Professor Sajid and Professor Girish. And as I see that 99 DDC, you can probably refer that as a a starting point of your journey into the diversity, equity, and inclusion. It was 1 hour of such a fantastic, very well spent time. I'm sure many institutions that have glued in, that have just logged in, they would have some kind of a insight into how do they start on this their own journey of getting into diversity, equity, and inclusion. My heartfelt gratitude to Professor Girish for being the lovely moderator, and Dr. Himanshi, Dr. Sajit, and Dr. Shiji for being such wonderful panelists. It was a pleasure having you all here, and we look forward to having you in more such sessions in the upcoming future. On that note, thank you, audience, as well, for wonderful participation. You've been wonderful audience, putting across questions, lovely questions, and eliciting lovely answers out of the panelists. Once again, may I thank our featured partners, Kellogg, Brown and Root Engineering and Constructions India Private Limited and Saint Gobain India Private Limited. Our social media hashtags are hashtag Diversity Mahotsav, hashtag Celebrating Diversity. Do post your experience at Diversity Mahotsav on your social media handles with the hashtag. On behalf of Team Avatar, I thank each one of you and welcome you to the rest of the days of Diversity Mahotsav. Please remember, Diversity Mahotsav is between December 1 and 23rd, only on weekdays between 4 and 5. Please visit www.myavatar.com to explore various opportunities and activities that celebrate diversity. If you have not registered at myavatar.com yet, do log on to myavatar.com and register now. Browse through to find jobs that might suit your skill sets and read articles of interest. Upskill yourself through various webinars conducted exclusively for you. As we draw close to the day, I'm going to request you to take a couple of minutes and provide your feedback on today's session. Here are a few questions for you all as it gets displayed. How would you rate today's session on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being the minimum and 5 being the maximum? Please take a few minutes to participate in this feedback. It will help us develop our programs further. The next question being, how would you rate our panel discussion on scale of 1 to 5, 1 being the minimum and 5 being the maximum? Our third question, I'm stuck here. Yeah, how would you rate our moderator, Professor A.S. Girish, on the scale of 1 to 5, 1 being minimum and 5 being the maximum? The next question being, is there anything else you wished the session covered in today's topic? You could probably write a short answer there, just a few words. And we would love to hear from you on, would you like to suggest a topic that you wish to hear from us during Diversity Mahotsav? If yes, please give your suggestions in the text box. We would love to have them incorporated if possible. And what's your takeaway from today's session? Again, a short answer if you can just come up with, it would be of great help. Please take those couple of minutes to answer this. And if you have your professors logged in, maybe they'll give you some brownie points to answer those questions. Right. So thank you so much for participating in the quiz. Don't forget to log in tomorrow. We have another exciting day tomorrow. Mr. Venkat Murugan, Team Leader, Operations and Head, DTI India, Saint Gobain India Private Limited, and Ms. Shreya, Team Leader, Human Resources, World Glass Complex, Saint Gobain Glass India Private Limited, who will give us insights on journey towards building mindful allies. So don't forget to tune in tomorrow. On that note, this is Lakshmi Jayaraman signing off. Take care and stay safe. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.